we have a really exciting day planned for you today. Ben Relles of Barely Political fame. If you don't know about Ben, he's launched some very big series on YouTube. Barely Political, most famously known as the Obama Girl. Also, the Gregory Brothers and the Key of Awesome, which had 500 million, you know who I'm talking about, don't you? 500 million video views in 2010. So he's going to be teaching, he and the Barely Political team will be teaching quite a bit this morning. So I'm going to hand it over to Ben, and we're really excited you guys are all here. Just remember, Google Plus and Creators Club, and we'll set you guys all off networking to success together. Thanks a lot. So Ben?
There you go. So I will start with my story. I filmed the Obama Girl video 4 years ago this month. We put it out a couple weeks ago, 4 years ago. And it didn't really have the intention at the time necessarily of becoming a YouTuber or doing YouTube full time, but I was fascinated by everything that was going on YouTube. So this was the first video we put on the channel. And the day after it came out, it became this sort of media story where people were asking, who is the Obama Girl? What's this video all about? If you haven't seen it, it was essentially a girl who was singing about Barack Obama, who I found on Craigslist. And we filmed the video in 3 or 4 hours. And didn't really have intentions to necessarily create a huge channel out of it. A lot of people working on the video itself weren't that familiar with Obama or YouTube, to be honest, in 2007 when we did it. But that's what we did. We spent an afternoon shooting this Obama Girl video. After I shot the video and it started picking up a little bit of traction, within a week I started thinking more about the channel which I had reserved called Barely Political. Originally I was going to call the channel Obama Girl, but then I figured he was going to lose to Hillary Clinton in 3 months. Then I'd be stuck with this channel called Barely Political. I mean, called Obama Girl. So I called it Barely Political. Now, 4 years later, we don't even make as many political videos, so I'm not sure I chose the right channel name anyways. But in any case, I was fortunate to have the idea to kind of start a network. And the idea behind the network was that we were going to do different comedy videos about politics. So about 2 or 3 weeks into actually putting out that first video and planning the second video, I realized there were a lot of things that I really didn't know about how to create videos, how to essentially build a network of online videos. So I found this company called Next New Networks. How many of you have heard of Next New Networks by show of hands? Okay, cool, a lot of you. So Next New Networks had just started about 6 months after I put out that Obama Girl video, or before I put out the Obama Girl video. And they actually reached out to me and asked if I was interested in joining their company because what they were doing was building these different online networks. So this is Next New Networks as of, I guess, about 6 months ago, and had built out to a whole bunch of different online video networks in all different topics. If you went from left to right there at the top, you have a guy who talks about comic books, a girl who talks about her life, Eric Beck who talks about filmmaking and filmmaking techniques, a comedy channel, a sports channel, a channel devoted to makeup, a channel devoted to snakes. Pretty much everything that you could imagine was being covered, and that's what was really fascinating to me about YouTube. That you could create these channels that there might not be a big audience for on TV, but within YouTube there was an opportunity to create this whole niche audience just around that one topic. So I joined Next New Networks after, again, only about 3 weeks, and within the first month or two we were doing essentially all Obama Girl videos. After about a year with the network, we started working with other outside producers. So the Gregory Brothers, who were doing these amazing videos on their own channel. How many of you have seen the Gregory Brothers video in the Auto to the News series? Cool. So they were doing their own videos, which were amazing. And we were putting some of their videos on our channel with the Gregory Brothers. And eventually those videos got so big that their own channel has completely taken off, and it's a great channel as well. So Barely Political became a place where we were putting Obama Girl videos and Auto-Tune the News and comedy sketches. And Tom Small, who directs and edits pretty much all of our videos, will be talking to you later today about some of the things we did well and some of the things we did not so well in the beginning of the channel. This is our core kind of team at Barely Political. So it's myself and Tom and Jake and a couple of actors and actresses there. We have Todd, who writes pretty much all of our sketches in some capacity. And then we have a few other people that kind of help behind the scenes. So we were part of Next New Networks. My role at Next New Networks kind of shifted. The first 2 years I was really focused on this Barely Political network. and trying to figure out a way to make that a sustainable brand within YouTube. And we did about 200 million views those first 2 years, I would say. And then, like Margaret said, we really took off last year when we did about 500 million views, and we're at 1.1 billion for the channel since we started 4 years ago. Next New Networks, which Barely Political was a part of, continued to work with all of these different channels. So that's what I started doing in 2010 and 2011, was trying to work with outside producers who had really interesting ideas for channels and were making great videos but didn't necessarily have the bandwidth on their own to do a lot of the things that Next New Networks was helping people with, like distributing videos and social media and getting advertising on those videos and helping with audience development. And you know, one thing I think you probably all are aware of, and I've definitely learned, is that a lot of times making the video is only half the battle. All the things you do to try to get people to discover that video and keep watching that video can also be really important. And that's what I'll be talking about mostly today. So Next New Networks in March of 2011 was actually acquired by YouTube. So everybody at Next New Networks, the team in New York that we have, is now part of YouTube, and we work with creators across the world in trying to figure out ways to bring audience to their channels, to help them with their creative ideas, to help them with distribution, to help them come up with ways that they can make their channel as popular and successful as possible. So what I'd like to do today is basically take about 30 to 40 minutes, talk about some of the things that we feel like specifically have helped channels that we've worked with. And then, like I said, do a couple of more interactive exercises where we talk about your channel specifically. So the overview of my 30, 40 minutes, I'll talk about 10, 15 minutes about videos specifically, some of the things that we encourage people to do with their content. About 10, 15 minutes around your audience specifically and things you can do to build relationships with your audience, because we found that that's really important with YouTube. And then finally around the platform itself and some of the things you can do with optimizing videos, tagging your videos, figuring out ways to create playlists around your videos, all those sorts of things that, again, on the back end can really help people discover your videos. So before I get started, what I wanted to do is show a quick video, because we have a lot of people from Barely Political here, but one of the best things you can do as a creator is certainly listen to other people that have used the platform successfully. So it's about a 3-minute video with some different YouTube creators talking about what's been successful for them, specifically around video content. I usually encourage people when they're giving presentations to find really compelling clip art like this that conveys you to watch the video. What is that speaker all about? Why did he pick such a bad image to go with? No, I couldn't figure out this morning how to get this image in there. Okay, hopefully this audio will work. By the way, these videos, if you want to see the whole series, were done by a YouTube channel called The Partners Project, where they interview a different YouTuber every week, partially about their backstory, but then they do a separate section around something called pro tips, things that they recommend producers do. So if you want to dig in and spend some time looking at that channel specifically and interviews with some of these people, it's youtube.com/partnersproject. But here are some highlights from YouTube producers on some of the things that they recommend.
I think the secret to making a video go viral is basically being one of the first ones to get it in.
Don't worry so much about quality of your equipment or the quality of your editing software or even your ideas. Don't even worry, just start doing it.
Don't try to make things perfect. Just start and then improve as you go along. That's the key to everything.
I say just don't be afraid to like put yourself out there and like be creative. Just do like whatever you feel like.
Watch what you love and watch closely. Like, you know, actually just watch anything. Watch the news, watch anything and see why those things work.
Just post anything and kind of, you know, find out what you're good at and what you're passionate about and just start posting, because there's an audience out there for anything.
And also do one unique thing a week. Go out by yourself and do something you would never do, just to have a different experience.
The bottom line is, like, a lot of people are like, is this funny? Should I upload it? If you're laughing while you're editing it, you know what I mean? Put it online. Like, if you're happy with what you're doing, put it up for yourself.
The true failure of an idea is just not doing it, because you're going to learn something from doing it and having it go wrong.
10, 20, 30 years ago, somebody who wanted to make an amazing thing had to go like beg and plead for and like scrape at the doors of the industry to try to get enough money to do that. And these days, if you can make something on your own, I mean, it has to be pretty humble to start with, but if you can make something and people find it, like suddenly the money comes after you, not the other way around.
I guess you should be doing it because you love it, and I think other people have said the same thing. Like, there's no reason to be starting because the reality check, no one is going to watch anything that you make when you start.
Just the audience on YouTube, I always call it the beast. You have to keep feeding the beast.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, if you don't, the beast, they grow more hungry and they grow more irritable. And it's not a bad thing. It's because they feel so connected with the person. We're not celebrities. We're real people connecting with real people.
Respond to your audience, see what they say, and they're not always right, but they're often right. And one guy might not be right, but collectively, the audience is almost always right.
Work your tail off.
Real hard. And fail.
And fail.
Fail as much as possible, because that's when you really learn.
Often we find people are hung up. They've got this, they think it's the only idea they're ever going to have, so they got this perfect idea, and they're going to work on it. They want to get everything arranged to have this masterpiece right out of the gate, and they end up spending months and months and months. And either it never gets done, or if it does get done, it doesn't turn out to be as good as they think it is, and they get discouraged. And so we find it's like, instead of spending months and months and months trying to get something off the ground to do it, just work with whatever you have, make something, finish it, get it out, and then move on to the next one, the next one, the next one.
Anybody can have a YouTube channel, so good advice might be just do it and don't delay too long. It's like it only takes 10 minutes, sign up, put a video up, and the next thing you know, you see what the feedback is and you try to adjust. So a lot of smart advice. I think we'd all agree the last piece was the smartest. Let me see here. I was also wearing the same shirt, I noticed, so that worked well. So, I put that up because I'll spend the next 10, 15 minutes going through some specific things, but a lot of things that they're talking about are really important just in terms of getting out there, taking chances, making videos about what you're already passionate about, and really kind of committing to it and not being afraid to take risks. Because ultimately, and you guys all have channels, you're all partners, so you're obviously doing something right already, but the more you kind of hear from people that have accomplished things on YouTube, the more a lot of these themes that you keep hearing about, committing to just doing things that you're proud of and that you love being the thing that they recommend really most above everything else. But that said, I'm going to get into a lot of the everything else. So the first thing here, and all of these points are kind of twofold. One is I think they really do help develop your audience, but two, they also help your videos get discovered because YouTube has an algorithm, and so when videos surface through search results or through related videos or through on browse pages, a lot of that is determined by an algorithm that YouTube has, not a person who's actually watching all of these videos. So with each of these tips, part of it is because it actually is important just for creating content. Part of it is they'll help your videos be discovered. So with this first one, keeping viewers paying attention, of course it's really important that people continue to watch your videos and pay attention, then they'll keep watching more videos. In addition to that, the YouTube algorithm, which surfaces your videos, actually rewards videos that are viewed to completion or that are viewed for longer periods of time. So for that reason, of course everybody wants to create great videos, but keeping people watching your video for the duration actually helps those videos get discovered. So here's a few things we recommend to producers specifically around how to keep your videos in front of people and keep them watching it. The first one is the kind of obvious one around create compelling content. Think about if you were watching this, why would you send it to somebody else? What makes this video interesting? The second one around trimming what's unnecessary, we hear a lot, and our editors can constantly remind us that you have this video and you shoot 10 minutes of it, and ultimately attention spans online are short, and they're competing with 7 other things on somebody's browser or Windows that they probably could and should be doing. So not that the video has to be any specific length. We've seen successful videos 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We've seen successful videos be 15 and 20 seconds. But ultimately, when you look at your video, think about the time that a viewer has to watch a video and what's any of the fat that you can cut out of that video. And Tom will talk about specific tactics around that. Being consistent is partially around just figuring out a way to keep the tone of the videos on your channel consistent enough where people, when they continue to subscribe and continue to watch, will start to have a certain expectation and be excited to see recurring themes and things from you. It's not a rule, and I should probably have prefaced all of this with none of this ultimately is a rule. You have to decide what you want to get out of your YouTube channel, and for some people it might not be just about getting views. It might be about getting discovered or creating a portfolio or connecting with a much smaller audience but that's really engaged and loyal. I don't want to make the whole presentation around, you must do everything you can to figure out ways to get, as many tens of thousands of views as you can. So these are just tips, but in terms of creating a consistency to the channel, we've definitely found that on YouTube, because people subscribe to a channel and they have all these subscriptions come in, people tend to watch the channels where they have some expectation of what they're going to see, because you're often competing with 4 or 5 other videos that are in the subscription box. Again, for some of you, and if you want to use YouTube as a place to experiment and try different things, I would certainly encourage that too, though. In terms of having a schedule, you'll hear a lot of people talk about having a consistent, every Tuesday and Friday schedule and sticking to that for a year. Part of that is because of, again, the algorithm actually rewards people that have a consistent schedule and put out a lot of videos. Those videos tend to be surfaced more by the algorithm. But in addition to that, it also creates a sense of ritual and routine among your viewers. And it's a balance for whatever your channel is about. If you have something where you feel like it's easy enough to do regular videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Thursday, whatever you decide, that's great. If you decide you're the kind of channel where you want to react to the news, or you just don't have the kind of job that allows you to create 2 or 3 videos a week, certainly I would still encourage you to use YouTube for what you want to use it for. And then the final one here around paying attention to the first 15 seconds. Again, attention spans are really short. A lot of people on YouTube, when you look at the attention graph, click off just literally in that first 10 or 15 seconds. 15 seconds isn't an exact number or anything, but ballpark, you have a certain amount of time to basically capture their attention. We try to think of it around 15 seconds of what are you going to do in that first 15 seconds to make people compelled to either watch the whole video or at least have an understanding of what your channel is about to offer them. So I have a quick video now from a channel which we actually spun off of Barely Political called Vsauce. So Barely Political for a long time had a lot of different types of content. One of the types of content we had was a guy named Michael Stevens, who was doing remixes and mashups and videos curating some of his favorite stuff on the web. Ultimately, it didn't really fit with our Barely Political audience, so we spun it off as its own channel, and it's actually doing really well now. It's doing 4 or 5 million views a month, and he's built his own audience around Vsauce and what he's making. What I wanted to show here was essentially how he introduces all of his videos in the series, which is essentially to give you a preview of what's in that video to come. Then he shows a little branding, and then he jumps into the episode. So these videos here are just the first 5 to 10 seconds of every video of a show he does called IMG, where he runs through his favorite images of the week.
A Nintendo guitar, and hey you! It's episode 16 of IMG. A family photo that's not at all creepy. Except for that guy. And Super Mario Bros. Turns 25 years old today. It's episode 4 of IMG. Famous things as Pac-Man ghosts and a hot MySpace photo. Dog toilet. It's episode 26 of IMG.
So, I think he's doing a few things well there. I should plug in here, shouldn't I? I think he's doing a few things well. One of the things is definitely that the intro itself kind of hooks you into the show. The other thing he does well is he's actually given the show itself sort of a series name, IMG. So it's on the Vsauce channel. He might not do it forever, but while he's doing it, you know what that show is. It's a show about the images of the week. And he has other great shows, too. He has a show called The Boat Show and a show called, what am I forgetting here? Dong. Yeah. Dong is actually doing online... Do it now, guys. Is that? Okay, anyways. It's one of his shows, and each of these shows has a different theme. And so for this show, IMG, he's kind of given it a brand, given it a logo. He opens it the same way. He actually puts the number of the episode in every episode of IMG. So if you're watching IMG episode 14 and you like it, you know there's at least 13 other ones you're going to watch. Or if you discover IMG on episode 13 and realize he's already done 50 of them, Michael has a chance then to kind of suck you in to watch maybe 50 more of these things at some point that are each 2 to 3 minutes long. So a lot of times creating that series, giving it a name, numbering it, and figuring out ways to sort of get people to realize that they're watching something that's part of something bigger can be really important. But the beginning part there, that was just sort of a series of how he opens every episode to kind of give people a hint of what's to come. So the next the next slide here around the content itself is figuring out ways to encourage audience activity. And again, part of this is because YouTube is an incredible platform in that it allows you to have this dialogue with your audience. But part of it is because it actually is rewarded by the algorithm, and that takes into account things like how much activity is on the video itself. So I'll show a quick video here from a YouTuber named Mika Kitty on how she encourages users to participate in the video.
Hey guys! Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and save it to your favorites if you liked it, or don't. Also check out Jason Monday and Alex Carpenter on YouTube. They are awesome! They wrote the music for the bacon song, so if you like music and you like bacon, you will probably like them. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Bye!
So, not a requirement of your channel. Not every channel ends their videos with calls to action specifically to their audience, but it can be a great way to get some of that activity. Part of the reason why so many of the top YouTubers are YouTubers that address their audience at some point in their video is because they've created a relationship with their audience, which I'll talk about in a minute, but also because they're encouraging their audience in some way to interact with the videos. So you have things like asking people to subscribe. It just works a lot better than just an annotation asking people to subscribe. Asking people to like and favorite the video if they like the video, it gets a lot more of that activity. And same thing with commenting, and same thing with sharing. Just asking people a lot of times, what would you do with this video? Who can you share it with? Can encourage a lot of that sharing. So having some kind of call to action in your video, it doesn't have to be all of those things on every video, but having some kind of call to action on your video is a great way to get people to do what you want them to do next after they watch it. So just to kind of recap the algorithm component of this, you've got all of these things which I think do lend to better content itself. You do want to keep people watching your videos. People have short attention spans online, and you want to figure out ways to get people to watch the duration of it. You do want to have a consistent schedule because people tend to be creatures of habit, and they set routines for themselves. And if they know you're going to have a video every Thursday at 4 and they're in the middle of their job or their schoolwork or whatever it is, and they realize it's Thursday at 4:30, something's going to trigger in their head. There's a new video of your show. And it's great to encourage activity because it's one of the great things about YouTube is that you can create this dialogue. And there's an opportunity to title and tag and describe your video to get it discovered. Those first three, I think, make great content anyways, but they also really play into how YouTube pushes videos in front of viewers in terms of search results and related videos. And it makes sense. YouTube wants to put great content in front of the people watching. So those are some things to pay attention to. I'll talk about titles and tags and descriptions a little bit more in a minute. And then the final one here is collaboration, which Margaret touched on. I would say, if you look at channels and try to figure out what was the one point where the channel really took off, very often, and maybe most often, it's some other big channel recommending that channel to its viewers. YouTube has a very passionate, loyal audience, a lot of times borderline cult followings, and they'll do what these big channels tell them to do. So if you can figure out creative ways to collaborate, they don't have to be huge channels. It could be channels that just have a similar audience to the content that you're making. But if you can figure out ways to collaborate with those channels, a lot of times that's the best way to get a big boost of traffic, and not just traffic that discovers it by search or by a related video they happen to click on, but it comes with an endorsement from somebody who they really trust and really admire. So these kind of collaborations, a lot of times when you look at YouTube, you'll see a chain where a big YouTuber, Ray William Johnson recommends to his viewers Epic Mealtime, and Epic Mealtime recommends somebody else, and somebody else recommends somebody else. And there's sort of this chain where if a channel has the loyalty of its audience and recommends another channel, you'll get a huge portion of that audience over, and not only a huge portion of that audience, but an audience that's already comfortable with YouTube, subscribes to YouTube, and sort of uses the platform actively. So I'll show a quick collaboration video here with Freddie and Epic Mealtime, who are two big channels on YouTube.
Epic Mealtime and Freddie Wong, about to take a shit on the collabo game. What you know about video editing software? Well, this shot's boring, too stationary. Let's get some camera shake. Feels like you're there. More camera shake. More camera shake. Too much camera shake.
This isn't Bourne Identity. You ain't Matt Damon.
Ain't a Freddie Wong video unless we got some guns. Am I right, hater? Guns. More guns. More guns. Raining guns.
So, it's cool because it's not like they're the exact same kind of content, but they have similar audiences, and it kind of nicely merged both of their styles, and they're both great channels if you haven't seen them. So you've got, the Epic Mealtime kind of tone and voice, but you've got Freddie Wong's special effects and guns, and, that was the kind of thing where I believe that aired on Freddie's channel, and as a result, then Epic Mealtime would get a huge chunk of Freddie's audience, which maybe hadn't heard of that show at the time. And then again, talking specifically around Barely Political and how we did this, you know, we launched Vsauce on the heels of Barely Political. You might want to do this with some of your own channels where you actually start a channel and feel like you've got different types of content and want to do some kind of spin-off channel. Of course, your original channel will be a great way to launch that second channel. So in the case of Vsauce, we spent those first 30 days doing a lot of those collaborations. You can see there both of the big spikes happened when we actually did a promotion on Barely Political, but now Vsauce actually does as many views per new video as Barely Political only a year after we launched the channel, where that wasn't the case at all when we started. So I'll just quick show kind of I think the first or second video we did, just where Michael introduced to Barely Political the idea of his new channel.
Ooh,
That
that would
is a
be
good
fun.
game.
That would be fun.
And number 3 is...
Wait. Don't go any further. If you guys want to see the top 3, click Andrea's face to go watch it on Vsauce. And if you want daily gaming news and comedy, subscribe to Vsauce.
So again, you know, he kind of used his 10 seconds to describe what the channel is, and in this case gave a really compelling reason to go over there. You actually had to watch the second half of the video at a different channel. So that kind of summarizes the content portion of the presentation which I'm giving. Like